What's going on, guys? I'm Steve. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. If it's your first time stopping by the channel, hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you won't regret it. You'll return to subscriber. As always, guys, welcome back, and I do appreciate the support. Guys, this news broke early this morning, which happened last night out here where I'm at in Houston, Texas. Shout out Houston as always. And it's about a man named Gerald Joseph, who's not pictured up here. But this guy, last night, around 9-ish, he killed his mother, pictured here. May she rest in peace. Ava Peavy, with a hammer. Now, this guy suffers from mental illness. Schizophrenia to be one of the things that he's, afflicted with. And I talk a lot about crimes where, people fly off the handle and have psychotic episodes and people lose their lives. But this one right here is really tragic. What's tragic is what the stepdad says in the interview of how this started with his mental illness. A lot of times, mental illness is not something you're born with. It's something that can be, developed over time. I just found that out in the last year. I didn't know that. And you'll hear what I'm talking about in this video. Take a look.
All right, this morning we are following breaking news from overnight. Harris County Sheriff's deputies investigating after a mother was found killed in her garage.
It happened last night on Ellesmere Drive in East Harris County near the Cloverleaf area. Jalissa Garza is live there this morning. Jalissa, who found the woman in her garage?
Well, Ron and Sherman, the Harris County Sheriff's Office, was called to the home at around 9:30 last night, and they tell us that it was the woman's stepson that found her unresponsive in the garage. Later, once EMS made their way into the home and went inside of the garage, they checked her vitals, confirming she was unresponsive. She was pronounced dead at the scene, and now a homicide investigation is underway. Now, here's what the Harris County Sheriff's Office tells us. Now, according to Harris County Sheriff's deputies, the woman's stepson told deputies that his stepbrother, who is the victim's biological son, was home, and he found him with a hammer and that he was acting weird and wasn't speaking to him. He called 911, and when deputies arrived, his stepbrother still had the hammer.
When deputies arrived, he put it down and cooperated and was detained without incident. At this time, after that, EMS and patrol were able to go inside the house, and she was in the garage.
Deputies say they believe the woman was in her late 60s or early 70s, and as you heard the sergeant there say right now, her son, who had the hammer, is in custody. Last we heard from police, they had not interviewed her son, who is a suspect in this case, but they say the hammer could have been used on the woman. Now, we do know they were interviewing family members and others who arrived at the scene, and at this hour, it's unclear if anyone else was inside the house other than the mother and son. Meanwhile, deputies are still trying to figure out what happened and the motive behind it. Now, the Harris County Sheriff's Office also mentioning to us that this has been a very violent week in Harris County. For one team alone, they say that this incident marks the 9th or 10th crime scene they've worked since their week started on Saturday. Live this morning in East Harris County, Jalissa Garza, KHOU 11 News.
Some very sad context there, Jalissa Garza. Thank you.
Breaking this morning, the Harris County Sheriff's Office says a woman is dead and her son is in custody, charged with her murder. They say he possibly used a hammer to kill her.
Deputies have now identified the suspect as Gerald Joseph. Brittany Jeffers is joining us live from the investigation on Ellesmere Drive in East Harris County. Brittany, from what we understand, too, you actually just spoke with the victim's husband?
I did, and this is an entire family that has now been impacted by this tragedy. Curtis Peavy is the husband of the late Eva Peavy, 69 years old, and they were married for 23 years. He says he is devastated because he lost his wife, but now his stepson, who he says is a son, is charged in her murder. He says that he was at a bowling league when he got a frantic call from his son telling him to come home.
Dad, you need to come home real quick. Jarrell just did something to Mama Eva and so forth. I said, what do you mean? He said, got here, I found I just saw a body laying in the garage and so forth. I said, well, call 911.
Now, Curtis says that his stepson, Jarrell, had suffered from mental health issues over the year, and he says that his family had done everything that they could to try to support him.
It was some years ago, but he was supposed to have been on, they diagnosed him as schizophrenic and bipolar and everything because he was, got onto that bad stuff, that synthetic weed where they cushion and so forth.
So Curtis shared some photos of Eva. He described her as loving and hardworking. Again, they had been married for 23 years. Investigators tell us it was around 9:30 last night when they received that 911 call, and it was Eva's stepson who discovered her in the garage. And deputies say when they arrived, they were not able to save her. She was pronounced dead at the scene. They say Jarrell had a hammer in his hand, but he put it down. He cooperated with authorities, and he is now in police custody. He is charged with murder, but of course this is an ongoing investigation. Guys.
Okay. All right, guys, that's the tragic story that happened to this woman, Ava Peavy, age 69, lost her life at the hands of her own son. Now, I got to state this. Now, this elderly this couple, Mr. Curtis and Miss Eva, they both each had one son each that stayed with them. One was in his 30s and one was in his 40s. The son that took the life of Miss Eva was her son. Now, we was talking a little bit about mental illness. It seemed like every time you see these people doing something, they usually mention the words or the ailment schizophrenia, right? Said this guy was normal until he started smoking synthetic weed or kush, or like what y'all call it, like he didn't know. That's strange that he said that, and I'm covering this story this morning because I was in a parking lot in a supermarket this morning. I had some downtime between my accounts, so I had about 30 minutes. And a person got off a bus, and you could see they was obviously on something. They got off the bus and proceeded to walk across the parking lot and just stopped and just stood there like this for about 10 minutes, like just nodding like this. And I was just sitting here like, yo, whatever that person's on, it's bad. You know, I just sat there and watched. I was in like almost a vacant parking lot, minus 3 or 4 cars. And the person got off the bus near the sidewalk and was walking across the parking lot and just stopped and was stuck. It's a lot of places, like, you know, a lot of times in gas stations, a lot of you guys that live in areas where they have gas stations where they sell that synthetic weed, or that weed that be sitting in them jars, like a dispensary, and it just be sitting in a glass cabinet and stuff. That stuff is dangerous, and it plays havoc on your system because you don't know who makes that and whatever. But people be buying it and smoking it, and they be having crazy trips off of that type of stuff. And a lot of times it creates crimes like this. This guy beat his own mother in the head with a hammer during a psychotic episode. And smoking weed or whatever it is, don't help that. It only aggravates the symptoms. Don't understand it. I think America needs to take more into consideration with dealing with mental illness cases. I wonder if he was taking medication, or did he stop taking his medication? In the first story, they said that the brother came in and was talking to him, and he wasn't even talking to him. He's just walking back and forth with the hammer in his hand. He calls his dad, you got to get here. He like, all right, call 911. That's devastating. It is. And now I want you to think about something. This man got to come home, and his house is a crime scene after going out on a bowling night. Probably kissed his wife, I'll be right back. It's devastating. It's a lot of loss out here, man. And a lot of times it can be prevented. I don't know what the situation was with this man, Gerald Joseph, that killed his mom. But I'm more than sure he probably got some type of guilt now after he done came out of whatever it is he was dealing with, if he's still dealing with it. And it's wild out here, man. I mean, damn, your house, your sanctuary is where you lose your life to a loved one that you offer refuge to. Like I said, man, may Eva PV rest in peace, and prayers and condolences go out to the family. Stock Market Steve for the Dynamic Reason channel. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.